Monster Nation.
It's like The View with the body count.
We'll be bringing you news,
Reviews.
and countdowns, because who doesn't love those, right?
Exactly. And even recipes and craft ideas.
Bloody good recipes.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your news brief. The cult classic Trick or Treat is getting a sequel. The writer-director Michael Dougherty hasn't revealed too much about the plot yet, but he says we'll get more info on Sam's backstory, and there's also been some rumors that it might be set in the past. In addition, the film will feature some archetypal monsters that weren't included in the first movie.
Author and heir of Stephen King, Joe Hill will be having a film based on his hit novel Horns. Horns will be pointed towards the big screen with a late release in 2014. Aside from the pedigree of horror of the source material with Joe Hill's dark fantasy novel, the film will have another heavyweight with Daniel Radcliffe. Starring as a lead character, Id Parish, a young man who wakes up with horns after his girlfriend is raped and murdered. Added to the cast is indie film darling Juno Temple, with The Hills Have Eyes and Piranha 3D Alexandra Aja set to direct. Sounds like a date movie to me.
Well, we wait endlessly for a follow-up to Prometheus. Dark Horse Comics is taking the lead with a series of books that will tie the movie's universe to both Aliens and Predator. They're starting in October with 2 books, Prometheus, Fire and Stone, and Aliens, Fire and Stone. True Blood may be ending on the small screen, but word has it could be heading to Broadway. Stephen Moyer, a.k.a. Vampire Bill, and the show's composer Nathan Barr are working on a musical version of True Blood, which was itself based on the Charlaine Harris novels. While Moyer says that the recast builds the younger actor, I do wonder if the stage veteran Dennis O'Hare could reprise his role of gay vampire king Russell Edgington on the stage.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown will be the latest horror title to be pushed through the remake mill, but it appears to be in good hands. Ryan Murphy has proven that he can bring a big dose of the spooks to the small screen with his hit television series, American Horror Story. Let us see if the same sentiment can be translated into a box office hit. He will be co-producing the film with another horror heavyweight, Jason Blum, of Insidious and the Paranormal Activity movies. The film is shot in the same low-budget feel to keep in line with the original. Although there is no official release date, the film is scheduled to come out in 2014. While waiting, old fans and new fans alike can get acquainted with the original that has just been released on Blu-ray and DVD.
Next up is our version of the internet cliche, The Countdown.
And in this episode, we'll be bringing you the sexy sirens of the silver screen. Scream queens, that is.
Making it a devil's dozen is our extra special scream queen, Mark Patton. Patton is the lead in the most misunderstood and controversial film, The Nightmare on Elm Street series, Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. He was finally vindicated when the screenwriter, after years of blaming Mark's queeniness for the movie's gay vibe, admitted that it was intentionally written as a gay allegory. Mark is really honest and vulnerable in this film, which has much more of a focus on him than it does on Freddy. Plus, he has a hilarious, unforgettable dance sequence set to Touch Me All Night Long. Mark is openly gay and has spoken publicly about his battles with homophobia and being HIV positive. He's also currently in production on his own mockumentary about Jesse, his character, called There Is No Jesse. By the way, I heard that Heather Langenkamp was not happy that Mark beat her and PJ Soles in the Scream Queen contest last year. Cheer up, Heather. You'll always be Nancy, but Mark will always be our Nancy boy. Scream Queen memorable moment? Besides the great Touch Me All Night Long sequence, Mark utters the deathless line, "He's inside me, and he wants to take me again!"
Starting our list of scream queens is Gloria Stuart. She got her start on stage before advancing to television and eventually film. Among her many accomplishments, she lived to be 100. Although younger generations might not be too familiar with the actress who passed away in 2010, Stuart has left behind an impressive body of work. Stuart was a part of Jane Cameron's Titanic film before it got the backlash it so proudly and rightfully deserves. That's right, she's the old lady who dropped the priceless blue necklace off the side of the boat. However, it is her early work on such films as The Old Dark House, The Kiss Before the Mirror, and The Invisible Man that gets her onto our list of scream queens. A darling of James Whale, a prominent director in the early 30s, he played a hand in making some of the most memorable movies for Universal Studios' ever-growing list of monsters. Like many actresses, Stuart would take a break from horror to go on to more mainstream. Still, being in such intelligible horror classics, it's hard to not give respect where respect is due. Scream Queen memorable moment? It's a twisted love story of mad science and attempted world domination, but the standout scene is the ending. The long-suffering Stuart, as her character of Flora Cranley, comforts the dying Claude Rains, a.k.a. the Invisible Man. He comments on tampering with some things that are meant to be left alone, and audiences are treated to a swan song of redemption that holds a timeless tale that is as cautionary as much as it is heartfelt.
Usually scream queens are just really good at acting scared, but some of the terror Marilyn Burns portrayed in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was for real. The movie was shot in a brutally hot Texas summer, and Burns was at the center of the grueling dinner scene that took 27 hours to film, and a room filled with rancid, smelly food. Her co-star Gunnar Hansen was so desperate to end the misery that at one point he cut her hand and she bled for real, just so that he could get the shot over with. Scream queen memorable moment. Burns' greatest moment comes at the very end, when she's seen in the back of a fleeing pickup truck, laughing insanely at all of the horror that she's just experienced.
This scream queen once referred to herself as a predatory bitch goddess in all these movies with unspeakable acts. Born in Ireland on the same day as Fellini, Barbara Steele is known for such classics as The Pit and the Pendulum with another horror heavyweight, Vincent Price. However, it is her work in the instant classic Black Sunday which she is most remembered for. Placing a captivating spell on audiences, the film helped to define the gothic look of Italian horror. The film underwent considerable censorship that was considered too gruesome when first released in 1960. Cinema has come a long way since black and white bloodfests. Playing the dual role as vampire witch who gets a pretty bad ending in the opening credits of Black Sunday, she swears revenge against her oppressors and returns from the grave to terrorize the younger generations of her family. She does so when her tomb is unearthed and opened, resurrecting her character Asa, who quickly possesses her younger counterpart post-18th century death sentence. Scream queen memorable moment? Black Sunday's opening sequence in which Barbara Steele's lungs are put to the test. Sharing her first and last kiss with the Iron Maiden, her fate is sealed, putting into sequence one hell of a family curse.
Another modern scream queen I can't get enough of is Sheri Moon-Zombie. She's the wife of director and rock star Rob Zombie, and like many, I first saw her when she played the Living Dead girl in his music video. But I truly fell in love with Sheri when she played Baby in his debut film House of a Thousand Corpses. She was perfectly crazy and seductive as the murderess who goes full drag queen when she lip syncs to I Want to Be Loved by You, and then threatens someone with the unforgettable line, I'll cut your tits off and shove them down your throat. She played Baby again in The Devil's Rejects. Then she played Michael Myers' mom in the Halloween remake, and most recently she starred in the moody film The Lords of Salem. Her look in that movie is so iconic that many people have dressed up as her, including myself, for Halloween in Salem last year. Scream queen memorable moment is when she psychologically and physically terrorizes two hostages in a motel room in The Devil's Rejects. She forces them to say, thanks baby, I had a real great time, and she even shows her ass off in the process, because that's just how Baby rolls.
The actress in our next spot was quoted as saying, in all the horror films that I have done, all those women were strong women. I don't feel I ever played a victim, although I was always in jeopardy. The sultry siren Adrienne Barbeau of Creepshow made good on her word. With a come-hither voice that kept listeners up for the graveyard shift in the fog, it's no wonder Barbeau was chosen to voice Catwoman in Batman the Animated Series. During the late 70s and early 80s, Barbeau made some beautiful screams with then-director husband John Carpenter. Taking on such classic monsters as Swamp Thing and a belittling Bea Arthur as her mother in Maude, Barbeau proved to be an asset in battle on celluloid. Scream queen memorable moment? The climax of The Fog, where she fights for the town by being the literal voice of hope while also taking on a slew of vengeful ghosts on top of a lighthouse.
I loved You're Next, and a big part of that, a huge part of that, was Sharni Vinson. She's styled as a tribute to the final girl. Soft-spoken, intelligent, and gorgeous, with the ability to kick ass when necessary. She blows away pretty much every other scream queen in terms of toughness. What makes her character awesome is that there's a concrete reason why she's so good at fighting back. And she's actually responsible for some really cool kills and just makes you fall in love with her. Her Australian accent is really endearing too. Sharni just started a new horror film, a remake of the Australian movie Patrick. Scream queen memorable moment? When Sharni confronts her boyfriend, who she's found out was responsible for all the horror she endured, she listens to his lame attempts to defend himself, and then she stabs him right in the eye. Why? He asks. "Why the fuck not?" she replied.
Representing a different kind of queen on our countdown, Linnea Quigley proves that she holds the next spot in a noose as Queen of the Bees, B-movies that is, and the sheer volume of her projects has branded the actress as a horror mainstay, and rightfully so. Most notable for blending comedic elements with absurd scenarios, Quigley's signature charm, i.e. breasts, have been proven to be valuable enough to get her a special credit for appearing in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Now that's hitting your mark. Between Savage Streets with Linda Blair, Night of the Demons with Amelia Kincaid, and Vice Academy with Ginger Lynn Allen, Quigley's proven to hold her own opposite many other notable B-movie actresses. But it is her performance as Trash in Return of the Living Dead by director Dan O'Bannon that is her most memorable. The fiery, flame-haired punk girl with attitude delighted audiences with her divine weirdness, as well as her tombstone striptease. Fleeing from a zombie invasion never looks so sexy as the camera dances off the curves of her body. With films such as Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, Sorority Babes, and Slime Bowl Bowl-O-Rama, and Silent Night, Deadly Night, it's hard to pick just one Scream Queen memorable moment as well as catch a breath after all those long titles. But we decided on one. Scream Queen memorable moment? The Return of the Living Dead, duh. Quigley's character, Trash, imagines and then shares what she thinks her death will be like. Turns out it's about a bunch of old men eating her alive. Part creepy, part camp, and all parts crazy. As the morbid fascination of cannibalism proves to be a humorous and blatant example of irony as it comes true for her character. Yeah, I've been there.
Maybe the first modern Scream Queen would be Janet Leigh, the star of Psycho. If Psycho was the godfather of the modern slasher film, then Janet Leigh was its godmother. She screamed unforgettably in the most famous film scene of all time, the shower scene. And it's really true that she can never take a shower again after watching that scene. If she absolutely had to at a hotel, she would only take a shower with her assistant present in the room, the lights on, and the shower curtain fully open. I guess seeing yourself hacked to death on screen can do that to you. Janet was beautiful, talented, and sexy. She broke ground in her first scene in Psycho when she appears in only a bad girl black bra and half slit. Janet also appeared in the horror movies Night of the Lepus, which is about killer bunnies, and The Fog and Halloween H2O, both with her daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis. Scream Queen memorable moment. The obvious one is the shower scene, but hats off to Hitchcock for his groundbreaking and seriously sexy opening sequence, in which Janet and John Gavin tryst in a cheap motel room. That let you know right off the bat this would be a different movie than any of that had come before it.
Director Wes Craven is no stranger to making heroes out of the supposed victims in his films, and Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott is no exception. The bravado in Kevin Williamson's script resuscitated a very lackluster genre that had all but taken a knife to the throat by the mid-90s. Add in a fresh-faced Canadian TV actress and you have not only a blockbuster, but the revitalization of a genre. Campbell's characterization of Sidney was one that defined the survivor attitude in a film series that offers thrills in addition to admirable social commentary. Although her killers may be mere mortals, mostly of the family kind, she had a double dose to deal with in each and every one of the films. Not letting that stand in her way, Sidney Prescott took a page from the Sigourney Weaver School of Kick-Ass not once, but 4 times. A rare and remarkable feat, Sidney Prescott had to stab off a long-lost brother, a cousin, a deranged boyfriend, his secret crush, and Laurie Metcalf. Scream Queen memorable moment? After her slugfest with Timothy Olyphant in Scream 2, Sidney takes on Billy Loomis's mother, while wielding an axe and causing the set of her own starring play Cassandra to cascade over the villain. Sidney produces a cinema history-making catfight with a Buck 120 hunting knife that left theatergoers cheering.
Plays Ripley in the classic sci-fi horror series Alien, and she also made Bill Murray and the audience fall in love with her as Dana Barry in Ghostbusters. When she gets possessed by Zool, she's incredibly sexy and alluring, and she even turns into a monster dog. Sigourney also played the Wicked Queen in Snow White, A Tale of Terror, starred in Copycat, and had a key cameo in Cabin in the Woods. On a personal note, I've had the opportunity to meet Sigourney on a couple of occasions, and she's extremely nice and very cool. Scream Queen memorable moment? Duh, it's the scene where she gets in the power loader and fights the alien queen. Her line, "Get away from her, you bitch," is one of the most classic in all of cinema history.
Compromise is the cornerstone of every relationship, what makes it so hard to put her on the list at number 2. Heather Langenkamp's portrayal of the strong-willed, take-no-shit Nancy Thompson broke the mold when it came to early 80s horror. Many of the virginal maidens relied on hitting the high notes with their lungs while just managing to escape near death in most movies. However, Nancy chose to bring the fight to the son of 100 maniacs by becoming the first in a notable line of heroines that would give Freddy a finger of their own. Despite dying in the 3rd film and playing herself in the 7th film, Nancy's place in horror movie stardom is cemented as a formidable leader in all 3 of the films she appeared in. Scream Queen memorable moment? Amongst many of her appearances, the most effective fight was in Freddy's lair in New Nightmare. Armed with a kitchen knife and a pair of PJs, Nancy shows the no-holds-barred approach against Freddy on his own turf. And wins. Like she wouldn't.
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis. She's the goddess, the Earth Mother to us all, as Kevin Williamson says. She plays Laurie Strode, the plucky virginal babysitter in Halloween and its 3 sequels. Halloween Resurrection is a terrible movie, but it's worth watching just for her death scene, which is amazing. She's starred in tons of 80s horror films. Prom Night, Terror Train, The Fog, Road Games, you name it, she was in it. And she was never ashamed of her horror genre past. She returned to the role that made her famous when she starred in Halloween H2O in 1998. She even brought her mom, Janet Leigh, along for a cameo. Jamie Lee's actually starred with 4 of the other Scream Queens on our list, with her mom in The Fog and Halloween H2O, with Adrienne Barbeau in The Fog, with Neve Campbell in the comedy Drowning Mona, and with Sigourney Weaver in the comedy You Again. Scream Queen memorable moment has to be towards the end of Halloween H2O when she locks herself on the school campus with her brother, breaks out a fire axe, and stalks around screaming, "Michael!" That is some iconic stuff. Welcome to a segment that I like to call Ain't the Only Thing Tasty. On my Tumblr page of that name, I find spooky food and craft ideas from all over the web and invent some of my own as well. For today's episode, I've created a Cherry Moon Zombie, a drink honoring our Devil's Dozen Scream Queen, Sherry Moon Zombie. Pretty witty, I know, let that sink in. So I have all the ingredients here that you'll need. At least 2 kinds of rum, which is a big part of the zombie. It's supposed to leave you in a zombie-type state. I have a light and dark Bacardi rum, but you can use whatever you like. Vodka, Grenadine, lemon lime soda. You can use 7-Up or Sprite or even the dreaded Sierra Mist. Maraschino cherries, and while it's not entirely necessary, I find that a measuring shot glass is really helpful for measuring our drink quantities. First, you'll need some ice. We decided to use some alien ice in honor of our Scream Queen, Sigourney Weaver. First, measure out 1/4 ounce of your rum. Add it in. Add 1/4 ounce of your other rum. Add 1 ounce of juice from your maraschino cherries. Add 1 ounce of grenadine. And top off with your lemon lime soda. You'll need at least 3.5 ounces or more. Top with the cherry. And voila, you have a delicious Cherry Moon Zombie. What do you think, Sheri? I think she likes it. Tasty.
Well, there you have it, YouTube. Monster Nation's first episode. Be sure to check us out on Tumblr. And be sure to check out our next episode where we'll be hitting the road and even meeting one of our Scream Queens. Cheers!
Look in the mirror, we're gonna scream for the radio. Murder man. Clean this one up.
They're screaming in the graveyards.
It's wicked out here.